bookish friends, my name is Jackie and welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to dive into 10 fall fantasy book recommendations. The first book that I wanted to talk about is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E. Schwab. This is not a story that personally worked for me, but I know so many people have really loved it. So if you're looking for a standalone fantasy to pick up, this is also a young adult one, so you can definitely check it out if you're interested in either of those things. It tells the story of Adeline, or Addie, who is a young woman in 18th century France, and she ends up making a desperate deal with a dark god to escape an arranged marriage. She gains eternal life, but she's cursed to be forgotten forever by everyone that meets her. So for 300 years, she lives alone, she travels the world and inspires art but leaves no lasting mark. But the curse is broken in 2014 when she meets a bookseller, Henry, who remembers her, and this leads to a very complicated relationship. They face a lot of deeper conflicts within it, and there's a dark entity that she's bound to in it. So I do recommend this if you're interested in like those dark gothic vibes. If you're looking for a young adult fantasy that's a standalone, you don't want too much of a commitment, you might enjoy this one. It personally didn't work for me. I just couldn't really connect with the characters, but I know so many people have absolutely adored it. They love that it takes place between the present day and the past, and the historical aspects of it were really interesting to them, but I don't know, I found that this was a little bit lacking for me. But again, this is a really well-beloved book, and I think that if you're looking for a historical fantasy to try out, this would be perfect for the fall season. Definitely give it a go if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. Next is one that I've really talked about a lot on my channel, but I did want to mention it once again because it's one of my favorite series. So I'm going to recommend The Last Hours Trilogy by Cassandra Clare. This is set in the 1903 London, so it's historical fantasy as well, and this is also young adult, and it's following the children of the Infernal Devices characters. So I would recommend reading the Infernal Devices trilogy first and then reading these. It is a bit more commitment to read these because there are other books in a previous series that you need to read first, or I would really recommend you read first to really understand it. But the first book really introduces us to a new character. Her name is Cordelia Carstairs, and she arrives in London with her family under a cloud of scandal. She's gotten caught up with the Herondales and a lot of supernatural events in this book, and the series continues throughout the other books. It follows these young shadow hunters as they navigate secret societies, a series of murders, and complicated relationships. There's a major threat that's looming throughout, and I will explain what shadow hunters are if you haven't read any of the other books. But basically, they're like demon slaying creatures. It's half human, half angel people, and yeah, that's kind of the premise for this. I just adore these characters so much. The plot is really good in these books. I enjoyed it. The third book was a little bit of a letdown in comparison, but I still highly recommend it. But for me, the characters are so special to me. This is a full cast of characters that you fall in love with all the way through. Cordelia, Matthew, James, Lucy, they are some very special characters to me. It always feels like I'm coming home when I'm reading about them, and I just really recommend this if you're looking for a fantasy series to really sink your teeth into in the fall season. Next is The Kiss of Deception by Mary A. Pearson. It's the first book in the Remnant Chronicles trilogy, and I can't recommend the whole trilogy because I haven't read all of them, but this is also a YA romantasy series. It's following Princess Leia, who's fleeing an arranged marriage to a prince that she's never met, only to find herself being pursued by two mysterious strangers. One of them is the jilted prince, and one is an assassin sent to murder her, but she doesn't really know which is which throughout the story, which really adds to a lot of the intrigue of it. There are themes of deception, hidden identities, and a burgeoning romance in this. I enjoyed this one a lot. I need to go back and reread it to finish the series, but it's definitely one that I loved as the first entry in a YA fantasy series. If you're looking for a new young adult series to start that is fantasy, that is perfect for the fall time, I would recommend this one. I just really need to go back to it and finish it, but I found it very intriguing. I think I really engaged well with Mary Pearson's writing in it, and yeah, I would recommend it if you're looking for a YA series to try out. Staying with my YA recommendations, next I have the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So this is Shadow and Bone, Season, Storm, and Ruin and Rising. So this is following Alina Starkov, who is a young map maker who discovers she has a rare magical ability. Her powers are key to saving her country, the war-torn kingdom of Ravka, from the monsters of the Shadowfold, which is a strip of impenetrable darkness that divides it. She's whisked away to be trained by the powerful Grisha and their leader, the Darkling, and she has to grapple with her new abilities, complicated feelings for the Darkling, and secrets that could destroy her world. So this is a series that I really enjoyed when I read it. I read it back in 2021, and I liked it. I think there were some rough bits in the second and third book, but overall I thought it was really great. There is also a Netflix TV adaptation that's been made of it. I think it has 2 seasons, and I watched the first one for that and I enjoyed it. I think this is just a staple of the YA fantasy genre. If you're looking for something that is a classic, that is well beloved, I would recommend checking this one out. And I know that a lot of people recommend reading this trilogy before diving into the Six of Crows duology. That is my plan to eventually do that, so I did read this in anticipation of that. And yeah, I think that this is one that you should definitely check out if it sounds interesting to you. There is this kind of like chosen one aspect to it, and so she has to go on this journey. There is a lot of character growth and development throughout the trilogy for Alina and for her friends, and it gives you all of the quintessential like YA fantasy things that you are looking to check off on that checklist. Alright, so next I wanted to move into some children and middle grade recommendations. I wanted a wide variety of age ranges represented in this video, so I'm going to recommend The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. This features twins Alex and Connor Bailey, who are transported into a fairy tale world through a book of stories from their grandmother. They have to collect the ingredients for a wishing spell and go on a quest to do this in order to return home, but this leads them on a perilous adventure where they encounter various fairy tale characters who have their own new modern lives and face the threat of the evil queen who also wants the spell's power. This was one that I adored when I was younger, and I think that it would still hold up today even for adult readers. I loved it so much. It's got the fairy tale retelling stuff, which is something that I'm very partial to, so if you're interested in fairy tale retellings, this could be perfect for you. I love that they have all these goals and quests that they have to complete, and it's pretty similar throughout the series. They go through the wishing spell into this portal in this magical land and have to complete quests and stuff, but it's really exciting. I never finished it all the way through, but I do want to go back and read the last couple of books that I was missing. I don't think I picked them up because they weren't released at the time that I was reading this series, but it's still one that I would really recommend. Such an easy, light fantasy read if you're looking for something a little bit easier than some of the other recommendations. Next, I'm going to be recommending another nostalgic favorite for me, and it's the Septimus Heap series by Angie Sage. Even if you have already picked this one up, you might want to give it a try again and reread it because it's so nostalgic for me. We follow the adventures of Septimus Heap, who is the 7th son of a 7th son, and he has extraordinary magical powers. He becomes the apprentice to the extraordinary wizard, and the story begins with the disappearance of Septimus on the night of his birth and his adoptive sister, Princess Jenna. They end up discovering that she has real heritage and their intertwining lives as they uncover a lot of dark secrets and face powerful enemies. So there's a lot of exploration into the magical world here, family, identity, and the battle for good and evil. I adored this book. I don't know if I finished all of the books in this series, but I do remember I got through quite a few of them before stopping at least, and I loved it so much. I just think that all the books were a lot, and I was in school, so I wasn't really focused on getting through them, but it's one that I love to revisit, and if you're looking to go back into a childhood nostalgic favorite, I would recommend trying this one out. Next, I want to recommend The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. This is not one that I made it all the way through personally because I struggled with it myself, but I know it's highly beloved. It is a classic and nostalgic for so many people and for so many different reasons. It is quite a long series. It does have 7 books. We're following children from the real world who enter the magical land of Narnia. This is a realm of talking animals and mythical creatures, and they're trying to help defeat forces of evil with the help of the noble lion Aslan. So it explores the entire history of Narnia from its creation to its destruction, themes of good and evil, sacrifice, faith, and courage, and the story begins with the Pevensie siblings as they enter Narnia through a wardrobe, so they have to end up fighting the White Witch in the first book to end a century of eternal winter. This is perfect, especially for the fall and winter seasons. As we get closer to that colder weather, I think that'll be perfect to dive into because there is snow in the first book. It's full of snow and winter, so it's perfect for that. You can definitely pick it up with a cup of tea and a cup of coffee reading this because it'll give you those vibes for sure. I had difficulty with not really some of the characters, but just the way that C.S. Lewis wrote some things in the later books. The first book I thoroughly loved and enjoyed, and then I think by the time we got to book 3 and 4, I just had difficulty keeping with it and enjoying his writing style there, but it is a very beloved fantasy series and definitely one that you should pick up if you're interested in trying it out. Finally, for middle grade period fantasy series, I wanted to talk about The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson. This follows 5 teenagers who become holographic guides for Disney World, and they soon discover that at night their forms come to life and they have to battle evil Disney villains known as the Overtakers. So they have to do this in order to protect the park and the world around them, and the Overtakers are being led by Maleficent. So this is a group of antagonists trying to take control of the parks when the guests are gone. I've read the first 2 or 3 of these. Again, I think that I was just in school, so I got distracted and I forgot about the series and never continued, but I really enjoyed it. It is great for anyone that's a big major Disney lover who loves cartoons and movies, anything like that. You will really appreciate this. And again, just the like fairy tale Disney aspects to it are really fun in this. So I love that it's a retelling in that aspect. It's something that I really enjoyed and resonated with. And I think that it would be great to read even as an older reader because there's just a lot of hijinks and mischief and a lot of missions that these teenagers have to go on. So it's really fun. I had a great time reading these when I read them back in the day, and I do plan on picking up the series and finishing it at some point because I had just a great time with it, and it's one that I remember nostalgically loving. One of the series that got me really into fantasies as a whole and into the genre, so I will always thank it for that. Finally, I'm moving into just a couple of adult fantasy recommendations. So first is a standalone. This is The Vampire of King Street, and it's a historical paranormal mystery fantasy, and we're following Radhika Dhingra, who is a struggling immigrant lawyer in 19th century New York. She takes on the case of her first client, who is a vampire named Evelyn Moore, and he's been accused of murder. So she has to investigate the murder of this opera singer and navigate the prejudices of high society New York. She works with a journalist and a detective and fights against the odds to protect her client, prove his innocence, and clear her own name. This is one that I read earlier this year and I really enjoyed it. It is very short, so it's like less than 300 pages, I believe. So if you're looking for a fantasy to just fly through, I think you can fly through this one. It is perfect for October because it has all those paranormal elements as well. So if you're looking for something to pick up this month, I would recommend picking up The Vampire of King Street. I really felt for Radhika throughout the story and I connected to her. She is the child of immigrants and I'm also the child of immigrants, so that's something that I saw eye to eye with her, and just the way that she goes to all these lengths to protect her client is really admirable. We get a lot of backstory for Evelyn Moore, and we get some world building as well with the history of vampires covered in this book just a little bit. I would have liked it to have been a little bit longer so she could have expanded on the plot and on the history because I was enjoying it, but it is one that I would really recommend. If you're looking for a unique vampire read, it is going to be perfect for that in this spooky season. Finally, I do have to mention The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. So we follow Sybil, or Six, who is a diviner, and she receives prophetic dreams from 5 omens. So her fellow diviners end up going missing, and with the help of a skeptical knight and a young boy king, she must try to find them. She leaves her isolated cathedral for the first time and uncovers a conspiracy involving the gods, questioning her beliefs, and developing a slow burn romance with Roger. So this is a romantasy, so if you're looking for some romantic aspects to a book that you want to read, a fantasy specifically, I would recommend this. There is some comedic relief with Bartholomew the Gargoyle, and just the side characters in this really added a lot to the story. It is a duology, and the second book of the duology is not out yet, but it is only going to be 2 books, I believe, so it is lower commitment than some of the other books on this list, and I recommended it. I enjoyed it. The writing style was interesting. It kept you gripped throughout. It is a little hard to get into at first, so do keep that in mind, and I do recommend physically reading this or reading the ebook because you'll get so much more out of the experience that way, but nonetheless, it is one that I would recommend. It is a very popular fantasy release, so if you're looking to stay up to date or try it for yourself and see what all the hype is about, you can definitely try it out for yourself, and it's one that I would generally think that fantasy readers will really enjoy. It's got some quests in it, so it is a quest heist story, and that's always fun. Alright, so those are all the fantasy books that I wanted to recommend in this video. I'd love to hear some of your fall fantasy book recommendations in the comments below, or if you've read any of these or have thoughts on these, please continue the discussion there. I am so eager to talk about these more. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it to this point. I appreciate all of you, and if you enjoyed this video, of course, give it a like and subscribe, and wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, I hope that you're doing well, and I'll see you all for the next one. Bye!